The Create Purchase Order function can be found under the Vendor drop-down menu or one of the icons representing this function. Once selected, this is the window that appears and graphically looks like a purchase order form. On the top of the window is a taskbar allowing you to perform various tasks such as going back or forward to previous purchase orders entered, creating a new purchase order, saving, deleting, copying, memorizing, printing, or attaching a file to the transaction you are in. And there are also other functions available to perform that we will discuss later. The body of the purchase order screen allows you to put in your vendor of choice. Note that once you populate the vendor field, the entity's address information is automatically populated in the address section. Then you may want to assign a class to the purchase order you are making. You are also able to select a drop ship to location represented by a customer job you choose. So in other words, instead of you receiving the goods you are ordering, you can have it go to the location that needs it. This avoids having to first receive items and then have to ship them out to the location that actually needs them. To the far right, you can choose a different template if it is available. Templates represent how a form is laid out, and in QuickBooks you are able to customize the look, layout, and field inclusion within any given form. In a later lesson, we review how to customize form templates. In our example here, we have just the basic purchase order form template QuickBooks provides when a company is set up. Next, you can change the date if needed. The purchase order number will be automatically populated based on the previous number plus 1. You can always change this number if you want, and you can use alphanumeric characters in this field. In the body of the purchase order, you must select an item of some type to create a purchase order. Just like estimates, invoices, sales receipts, credit memos, etc., QuickBooks requires item selection to create the transaction. In terms of item type selection, you will be able to choose from all the items you set up except for sales tax items or groups, since these particular items only relate to revenue transactions. So in other words, you can create a purchase order for service items, inventory parts, non-inventory parts, etc. The drop-down item list will display for you what is available in your particular circumstances. Okay, now that we selected our items, note the description, quantity, unit of measure, rate, customer, and amount fields were automatically populated. Why did this happen? Because all of the information that just came up did so as a result of us telling QuickBooks what to put in these fields based on our item setup. For example, let's take a look at the inventory parts setup we chose for this particular purchase order. I'm going to open up this inventory part by going into List, then selecting Item List, and then double-clicking on the item to open it up. Notice all the fields that are populated that end up feeding our purchase order when we selected this item. Now going back to our purchase order, notice the customer job field is populated. The reason for this is when we selected the customer or job in the Drop Ship To field, then QuickBooks assumes this is what we want each item selected in the body of the purchase order to relate to. Once we complete the main body, then we can put in a vendor message and memo on the bottom left of the screen. Lastly, notice the total is shown in the bottom right of the screen. Once completed, you can select either Save, Save and Close, or Save and New. Before we go on to the next session involving receiving and recording a bill for a purchase order, I did want to point out that similar to an estimate on the revenue side of the aisle, a purchase order does not post anything to the accounting records. In other words, since a purchase order represents an intent to purchase something, you do not record it as a completed transaction, since until you receive what you ordered, nothing has really happened except conveying the desire to purchase something.